we have got some big news. We all expected it, but it is now official. Anthony Volpe has made the New York Yankees roster. Not sure if he's going to be the starting shortstop. I'd assume we're going to find out pretty soon, possibly during this stream. So hang on. Big news coming your way.
Welcome.
Just when they thought I would know, they pull me back in.
How's it going, everybody? We got some reactions. People are excited. If ever a situation called for the fun hat, it is today. Anthony Volpe, in a well-deserved promotion, has earned his way to the New York Yankees roster. Now, look, this is a Cinderella story. I mean, this is a kid who grew up as a huge Yankees fan, idolizing Derek Jeter, becomes a first-round draft pick, and gets an opportunity to win a job in spring training, and absolutely has torn the cover off the ball for now almost 4 weeks. He's run the bases well. He's done everything you could ask of him on defense. He's shown power to all fields. He's shown that he's a good kid, that he gets along well with the elder statesmen of the team, the judges, the Rizzos, all consider him an equal and a big leaguer. DJ LeMahieu is on record as saying that Anthony Volpe is a big leaguer. Now, I'm excited about this. He's going to be the youngest Yankee to start on opening day. Presumably, you wouldn't call him up to sit the bench, although with this organization, you never know. You wouldn't think they would have sat Peraza last year when they called him up, but they did. The fact that Volpe is on the roster leads me to believe, especially given all the injuries and just the kind of the downturn that the Yankees have had over the last couple of weeks, you know, in terms of fan morale, it's something exciting for the fans. It leads me to believe that he's going to be in the lineup on opening day. Now, we do know that he's not going to be hitting leadoff. Aaron Boone said before today's game that DJ LeMahieu is going to be hitting leadoff. So we got some reactions here. Ariadna, always great takes, says, well-deserved.
Absolutely, hey.
Keith Caff says, hell yeah. All right, so look, there's no word yet on what's going to happen with Oswald Peraza. It's fair to say that Peraza's done enough to make the team, too. I mean, he doesn't have great stats offensively, but looking at his at-bats, he's hit some balls hard. He runs hard. He runs well. He's fast. He's got a great arm. He's looked good over there at shortstop. You know, there is the non-zero chance that you could see a trade break over the next several hours, and you could see a Gleyber Torres get dealt. You could see an IKF get dealt. As this roster begins to take shape, you've got a logjam in the infield. You've got DJ LeMahieu, Josh Donaldson, IKF, now Anthony Volpe, presumably Oswald Peraza, though he could be headed to AAA. You've got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Oswaldo Cabrera can play some infield, though it looks like he's got a lock on that outfield job, and he's been tremendous this spring. So I'm curious to see how this shakes out. The Yankees have said that they will know their final roster as we break camp tomorrow. Now, looking at the starting pitching, you see that we've got some guys that are hurt. Montas is hurt. Severino's hurt. Rodon is hurt. Yankees are going to need to make up for that by having a quality offense and having some speed, having somebody who can create a distraction in front of Aaron Judge, possibly. Although, if he's not hitting leadoff, that's not going to be the case. But hopefully, eventually, it will be. Edwin Ng seems to think that he's going to keep number 77.
That is correct.
I'm not sure if he's going to keep 77. Apparently, he was a Mickey Mantle fan, or his grandparents are Mickey Mantle fans and whatnot. And obviously, Mantle wore number 7. But when I think of 77, I now think of Clint Frazier, which is not a great thing. But also, 77 is not a typical number for a regular starter in the major leagues. At least traditionally, the lower the number is, the more likely it is to be given to a starting position player. So it's just it'll be interesting to see if he changes that up. Mr. Potato says opening day. Sorry. The Brew Crew Sport says, does this mean a trade is on the horizon? I think it does. I think for sure IKF is possible to be moved. Gleyber Torres, a little bit less likely just because he was such a good offensive player. But if they're planning on playing Volpe at second and not short, then I think you move Gleyber. Unless you want to, play Judge in center for a while, play Giancarlo in right for a while, and wait to make a trade involving Gleyber until Harrison Bader comes back and you have to start shifting guys around. But you could put Gleyber at the DH position right now and probably get 3 weeks of him and let him either raise or hopefully not lower his value. Gabriel Vasquez says the future of the franchise has become the present.
Absolutely. Hey.
Mike Pellegrino says keep them both.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I think they both deserve to be on the roster. Just the influx of youth and energy. How often have we said it over the last few years that this team needs youth, it needs energy, it needs speed, it needs defense. The defense was better last year, but not at shortstop, And looking at everything that Volpe's done, I have no reason to believe he can't be an excellent big league shortstop. Now, word around the campfire is that the Yankees consider Oswald Peraza a better defensive player. But here's something to consider. The long-term value of an overall player, right? If you think that Volpe is going to be a more consistent and better offensive player, which I think he will be, and you put him at second base, right? And then what if Oswald Peraza doesn't hit? Then you got to move Volpe over to shortstop if Peraza fails. I don't like moving guys around once you station them in a position. I think however they set it up, they need to commit to it. If you're going to go with Volpe and Peraza up the middle as your long-term plan, then go with it and trade Gleyber Torres. It's just, it's a logjam. It's still kind of ironing itself out right now. I'd imagine we're going to know by tomorrow this time. Isai says Peraza to the Pirates for Reynolds. That would be interesting. Senior Nerd says 2023 Rookie of the Year, Anthony Volpe.
Absolutely.
Would love it.
Hey.
Would love that. Tom Birmingham says Volpe over under 25 stolen bases this year. I'm going to go way over. I think he's a guy who can steal 40 or 50 bags just like he did in the minor leagues. Catchers have a better arm at the major league level for sure. But also, the pitch clock is new in the major leagues. These guys haven't had to adjust to it. So the minor leaguers who've been playing with it are going to have a distinct advantage over some of the veterans for once who really haven't had a chance to use this system. It's going to be interesting. Jersey Boy says Estevan Florial is out of options. What happens now? I think it's a foregone conclusion that Estevan Florial is going to be designated for assignment or possibly traded. It's a shame that he hasn't worked out as a prospect, but he just hasn't hit enough to remain in the, conversation. And at this point, it's best to give him a shot where he can go and make a career for himself rather than just letting him toil around in the Yankees system. I think he's going to get DFA'd and he'll either get traded for, a nothing prospect who's not on the 40-man roster, or he'll just get released and he'll sign a minor league deal somewhere and try and work his way back to the major leagues. I root for him. He's an athlete, but I just don't think it's going to happen in New York. Joan Cisco says over under for triples. That's an interesting question, Joan. So here's the thing. Yankee Stadium doesn't yield a lot of triples. You got a short gap in right field. You got a big gap in left field. So, if he could sneak some balls into that gap, maybe. But typically with triples, it's either got to be one of those bloops like he hit yesterday where the guy kind of slides and the ball kicks away, or it's got to take a funny hop. Now, Yankee Stadium does have some funny hops. If he shoots some balls down the line, they kind of ricochet and get by somebody. It's going to depend on what type of hitter he is, too. But there's no question that he's a guy who's going to hustle out of the box. One thing we've been seeing a lot from him is just how hard he plays the game. He plays the game the right way. He's all out all the time. You love that. Same way that Brett Gardner was. Dan Texty says, may his 40-man spot go to Volpe. Someone has to get taken off for him. Well, Michael K did have a good point in that Frankie Montas is not on the 60-day IL yet. But once you place a player on the 60-day IL, they come off of the 40-man roster until they come off of the IL. So you don't necessarily have to get rid of somebody to get Volpe on the roster, but we'll see what happens. Junior Karoma just dropping in that Hicks sucks. So this is going to be an interesting season no matter what, because we're going to have some youth that we haven't had. A homegrown kid that's getting an opportunity. Hopefully we see lots of plays like this one, sharp defensive plays. And look, I know IKF caught a lot of crap from us last year because he was not a good defender. He was definitely not as good a defender as was advertised, and he was a far sight from the defender he was at third base. But look, he played hard. He hustled. We never had a problem with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa leaving it all on the field. So if this is the end of his Yankees career, he grew up a Yankee fan too. I just want to give him a little round of applause for the effort from the Hawaiian hustle. Daryl says, do you think Volpe leads off instead of DJ? I don't, because Aaron Boone said that DJ is going to lead off. I do think you'll see Volpe at leadoff, but as we saw with Boone, and we're going to continue to see with Boone throughout his Yankees managerial career, he shuffles the lineup every day. People ask me all the time, Derek, what's your Yankee lineup? And I'm just like, what day? Opening day is one lineup. It'll probably be a different lineup the second day of the season. I think last year we didn't have the same lineup on consecutive days until maybe September, maybe late August. I would love to see Oswaldo Cabrera crack the opening day lineup in left field and remain the left fielder until the Martian is ready. Kind of the way that I see this, and this is if I was playing GM, I would let Cabrera get his at-bats in the outfield and occasionally use him to back up one of the infielders at third base, maybe a little bit of first base, right? And then if one of those guys gets injured, right, you can slide him in either at third base or first base to fill in because he's such a valuable defender. And that opens up left field for the Martian. I think the Martian is ahead of schedule. I've spoken about that a lot on this channel. I'm happy that a lot of the things I've been saying have been vindicated by his performance this spring. I still think there's a chance he's going to make the major leagues by September. Maybe even sooner if he really tears the cover off the ball. Michael K likes to use the example of Harris with the Michael Harris, I think his name is, with the Braves. Only played about 25 games at Double-A. Now, he was a year older than the Martian is, and had played more baseball, but came from out of nowhere. I think you're going to see Jason Dominguez have a similar kind of ascent. I mean, what we saw in spring training was a guy who really works the count like a veteran, has power from both sides of the plate, very confident, has a good time, needs to get a little bit better with his routes in the outfield, but has a great arm. If he's hitting 300 in June with 10 home runs and 15 stolen bases, and you have an opening in the outfield, I'd say get him up. But another Hicks fan here.
Absolutely. Hey.
Casey Anderson. Don't start it. Tim says Volpe hitting over 270. Well, that's interesting because I don't think he hit over 270 in the minors last year. Now, one thing to consider is he was working on a new swing for the first couple of months. It wasn't working out, so he canned it and went back to his old swing, and he seemed to produce a lot of results. Now, batting averages, I think, will go up, and he's a guy who's going to benefit from his speed. The Yankees need to teach him how to bunt, too. I don't know if he bunts. I haven't seen him lay down a bunt for a hit, but with his speed, occasionally, especially if you get a little bit of a minor shift where you got guys playing, more towards the middle or whatever, more towards one side, if you can push a bunt past the pitcher towards the semi-open or lightly defended part of the field, he should be able to steal some bunts that way. But he can also hit the ball 430 feet like you're seeing from a couple of days ago. So I'm loving the ways that this kid can kind of play all sorts of different aspects of the game. He's far surpassed my expectations of him. I had only seen him in highlights from last year. I've never seen him play live. He was drafted after this podcast was started, and since this podcast started, I haven't gotten a chance to go see many games because I'm one of these creatures that just stays here and watches the game and then does the post-game show pretty much every night. So I haven't gotten the chance to see him in person, but there's a lot of things you can tell from watching somebody in person, how they prepare for each pitch. How early they get ready. How communicative are they with the other members of the team? If you're a shortstop, how are you taking your infield practice in between innings? Are you taking it seriously? Are you making strong throws? Are you practicing going side to side, laterally, up the middle, in the hole? These are all things I want to see. But, for now, everything looks good. Everything looks good. Nicholas Velasquez says Volpe should rock number 12. I like it. Or number 11. Brett Gardner was number 11. It'd be cool to have a speedster wearing number 11 again. I do wish they would give some of these younger players who earn their way onto the roster a little bit more of a respect when it comes to their numbers. I mean, Oswaldo Cabrera wearing number 95, unless he picked that, and it doesn't seem like something you would pick. Oswald Peraza wearing number 91. Volpe wearing number 77. These are traditionally spring training numbers, but you're seeing more and more guys transition those spring numbers into the regular season. Even Clark Schmidt, 86, Dominguez wore number 89. I've heard that he likes number 25 because he's named after Jason Giambi, and he's liked to wear number 25 in his career. I don't think anybody wears number 25 right now, so maybe that'll be available for him. Smokey Medina says, sorry, but Volpe should lead off. He has the speed, speed on the base paths. All right, yeah, I see what you're saying. I agree with you. I would bat Volpe lead off myself. And the reason is the last point you got to. With Judge at the plate, there are two options. You're either going to continue to throw Judge pitch after pitch after pitch, sliders in the dirt, and Volpe's going to be on third base, having stolen second and third. Or you're going to throw him more fastballs to keep Volpe at bay, and Judge is going to hit, maybe a half a dozen more home runs, which if you tack on to what he already has would be a pretty impressive number. Jonathan Alvarez says, no designated spitters today. We are absolutely doing the designated spitters at 7 p.m. That's the podcast I do with Pete over on NYY News TV, and we are going to be talking about Anthony Volpe tonight. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. Senior Nerd says, are you playing MLB The Show right now? I am. I've got two franchises that I started. I started a Yankees franchise, and Volpe is my shortstop in that, and I've got Peraza playing second, and right now, I have not traded Torres yet. He's my DH, and I've got Judge in center, and right field is Giancarlo for now. But I'm only a couple of games in. I also started a rebuild. I want to rebuild the Colorado Rockies because I have a theory with the Rockies. If you remember when the Rockies were really offensive-minded in the 90s, they were really good with Dante Bichette and Andres Galarraga, Larry Walker. I mean, those are special players. But I have this theory that if you can load up on offense, you can outslug teams in Colorado. So we'll see. We'll see. Mike says, hot take, but number 95 looks great on OC.
Oh, righty there.
Oh, yeah, Torres wears number 25. I totally forgot about Torres. That's my bad. I'm already assuming he's been traded. He might not wear it anymore. We'll see. We'll see. All right, guys. One last comment. Dylan says, Donaldson over under 25 home runs. I think under. I have seen that he's kind of raised his stance a little bit, and he's had a good spring. But there's an old saying in baseball, don't believe anything you see in spring or fall in terms of adjustments that players make or rookies, for that matter, which doesn't bode for this overall overarching topic of Anthony Volpe. But I believe in Anthony Volpe. But yeah, I'm going to go under for Donaldson. We'll see. Adam says, who's closing? I think it's going to be Clay Holmes most of the time. We do have the option of switching to Loaizaga or King, although I like King better in the middle innings. But I think for now it's going to be Clay Holmes. But one last round of applause for Mr. Anthony Volpe.
Game over, man.
Gonna play the wrap-up music. Anthony says, I'm so glad for Volpe. Me too. Be interesting to see if we get a trade tonight.
You gotta go.
And Marcus, with the final word, says they won't lead him off at first. They won't want to put that kind of pressure on him. Seems like the way they're going. And Yukon, I lied about the last word, says he has his autograph. Congratulations. I got to get his autograph. Congrats to Anthony Volpe. Congrats to all the Yankees fans who were pulling for this. I'll be on the designated Spitters in a couple of hours with Pete. And then we've got a season primer coming out on Tuesday, which is just kind of an overview of the roster position by position. It's more for kind of people who might have missed, some of the stuff that went down in spring training. We'll talk about the top prospects and all that stuff. And then Thursday, we kick off the live portion of our post-game show. I've got some exciting stuff happening this year that I'm looking forward to breaking out. And until then, I'll see you next time.
Hey everybody, if you've made it this far, we thank you. If you'd like to support NYY Recaps, please like and subscribe or pay a visit to our Shopify store for some great Yankees merch. Yes. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description. But if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, just visit NYYRecaps.shop. If you really want to support NYY Recaps and help keep the show going year after year, join up as a member. It's $5, and members get their names up in lights during each post-game show. We're also on all podcast platforms, Instagram, and Twitch this year. So give us a follow if you use any of those platforms. We're expanding, and we have you to thank for making this such a great community. We'll see you next time.
It is your destiny.
Case closed.
Ball game over.
Most impressive.